want to get right to it. So many African Americans turned out in November 2008 for the election of President Barack Obama. Unprecedented numbers across the country. Folks were excited. They talked about this being a new movement. Yet 1 year later, we saw elections in Virginia, Massachusetts, New Jersey, but also mayoral elections in Detroit, Atlanta, Greensboro, North Carolina, in Houston, and turnout was abysmal. Where did all these black folks go? How can we talk about black political power if we show up for President Obama but don't show up for our mayors?
Let me say this, and I think you're right in raising the question. One, usually people don't answer a telephone at home unless it rings. The reason why blacks didn't come out is nobody called them out. There was not the proper organizing and mobilizing in those states. Now, we can give a rhetoric on that. What National Action Network, what we're committing, is that we're going into 6 of the main and critical states in the midterm elections. And we're going to register voters and do voter turnout that you can measure us. This is a commitment day, that we will increase turnout in those states by 5%. People around the country can go to nationalactionnetwork.net if they want to go with us. We're going into Ohio, we're going into Florida, into New York, and into California and Illinois, and we're going to up the ante. I think that if we don't do that, we will set the stage for defeat of the president in 12. We've got to win the midterm elections for those Republican or Democrat that stand for what's right.
I got folks not calling, but the reality is we're pushing it constantly on Joyner Morning Show, 8 million listeners. We're pushing it on the web. And so at some point, why do we always need somebody to call us when we are most affected by the mayors in the cities? Had black folks voted, there'd be a black mayor in New York. And the same numbers for Obama. Had black folks voted, there'd be a black mayor in Houston. The black woman in Greensboro, North Carolina, the incumbent, lost. The African-American mayor in Dayton, Ohio, lost. And so at some point, when do we truly exercise our power, Ben, versus waiting for someone else to invite us to the ballot box?
You know, what's real is that people are trying to keep their families...
Right to the microphone.
What's real... I think you can hear me now, right? What's real is that folks are fighting each day just to keep food on the table for their families. And what's real is that we have to, that's why we've been fighting for 100 years and we're in 1,200 places pushing people out to vote each time. You have got to get out, go door to door, and and turn folks out. If you care enough to be here, if you care enough to be watching TV right now, you should be working with NAN or with us or with the league to sign up and volunteer to turn folks out. We can't just blame people. They're trying to put food on the table each day.
I would think that we have to recognize that black folk are like anybody else. We need our due. And what's happening is these politicians, many of them are being elected, and they're not addressing the needs in our community. There's no jobs. They're not dealing with the health care in our community. Black people need to be a part of America. You can't approve $60 billion for General Motors and for ACI and come up with nothing for black. Our community's coming apart at the seams. And we need people to deliver for us. If you deliver for us, we'll deliver for them. But if you don't deliver for us, we ain't doing nothing.
So African Americans want people to address our issues. Yet there were health care. I'll ask the question, how many folks in the room supported President Barack Obama? All right. How many folks in this room show up to at least one health care town hall meeting? That's my point. My point is all these hands went up, but when it came time to demand health care, we didn't show up. There were town hall meetings in black neighborhoods that were virtually all white folks at the healthcare town hall meetings. So at one point, do we also begin the challenge, Mark, to say, look, we also have to be in the game as well?
What we've seen since the 2008 election points to the fact that we need a double wake-up call. And the wake-up call for ourselves is the president is not an emperor or a king. And therefore, you don't elect a president and then go back to being political spectators. We've got to be engaged in every single election process because voting needs to be a habit. A habit. We don't need to vote like we go to the movies or like we listen to music, well, if I don't like it, I just ain't gonna do it. We've got to make it a habit. On the other hand, Danny's point is very well taken. There's got to be a greater degree of engagement by elected officials, black and white, to pay attention to our community after the election. And so it's a double wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for us that if we don't sustain our participation levels, we will lose ground. But it's a wake-up call for elected officials that once you get elected, you've got to keep coming back, you've got to keep engaging, and you've got to keep delivering.
Folks, hold tight 1 second. We're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back with the comments. Congressman Clyburn, I know you're ready to jump in, because trust me, you were hoping folks showed up at some of those healthcare town hall meetings. Folks, we now know how to, of course, we lost the momentum we had back in 2008, but the question is, how do we get it back? We'll dive into that. Also, again, break down in terms of some of the political needs for African Americans right after this break.
Stay tuned for more of Measuring the Movement, and stay with News Talk 1090 AM WILD Boston, where information is power.